You're listening to Living Out Loud with my mom, Michelle Flamer. Yep, she's a flamer and proud of it. Get ready to learn about queers in your communities doing great things every week.
Today, I'm truly honored to be joined by Chris Hartman, the Executive Director of Kentucky's Fairness Campaign. Chris has been at the forefront of advancing LGBTQ plus non-discrimination protections across the Commonwealth, helping pass fairness ordinances in 21 Kentucky communities, from the state capital of Frankfort to the small Appalachian town of Vico. You're going to have to teach me how to say it. Is it Appalachia? Or, I know it's there's a lot of different ways. So his work sits at the intersection of policy, people, and courage. Chris's background spans grassroots organizing, federal political campaigns, AmeriCorps service, and leadership at both the state and national levels within the equality movement. He also brings a creative lens to this work, holding a master's degree in drama, which speaks to the power of storytelling and presence in social change. Chris has been recognized as a leader and bridge builder, serving on national boards, chairing civic commissions, and being named Partner of the Year by the Louisville Convention and Visitors Bureau. At the heart of it all, his work is about dignity, belonging, and fairness for everyone. Chris uses he, him pronouns, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity to connect with him today. Welcome back to Living Out Loud. Hi, Chris. Welcome to the family.
Well, thank you, Michelle. It is truly a family I'm honored to be a part of.
Okay, me too. Most of my guests afterwards, they hear my intro and they're like, can you just send me the script so that I can, when I'm feeling really low about myself, I can read what you write. But anyways, I'm really thrilled. I know my mom actually was the one who reached out to you for us, because I have her on organizations and politicians, and she just said she had a really great little exchange with you.
Moms can be wonderful, can't they be?
They really can. They mean well, don't they?
I tell you what, I cannot get my mom to stop wearing the I'm proud of my gay son t-shirt that she loves to don at every event at the Capitol, the State Fair, the Pride Parade, you name it, she's wearing it.
Don't make me cry in the first 3 minutes here. Jeez.
Already.
Well, so in the honoring your mom and how much she loves you, can you share a little bit about that coming out story with us and how you became you today, and sort of that, how it played into the career trajectory, and yeah, just share away if you will.
Well, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the late
Oh,
1990s.
this is the drama guy in you. This is that. I love it.
Oh,
Okay, this is
Michelle.
great.
It was 1997. And to be frank, the courage and the bravery in my life came from those around me. There were several guys at our all boys Catholic high school that had already come out of the closet in the mid 90s. And so several of the friends around me were already living their lives out and proud. I didn't yet recognize how that directly connected with my life. I don't know. I was sort of living a life somewhat asexual. I just didn't think that any of that clicked necessarily. We were in a drama class my junior year of high school, and my closest friends, again, who were already out, insisted that we do a scene from the play Jeffrey. Folks may remember, Jeffrey was a huge LGBTQ movie in the late 90s as well, or mid 90s. And so to prepare for the scene, I was probably given a copy of the movie Jeffrey by one of my classmates. I went home and I watched it. And I don't know, watching the opening sequence, it was just the opening sequence of the movie. Something clicked, just sitting there in my parents' basement. And I knew immediately. I mean, it was as if a light switch had been turned on. I'm gay. That's what it is. That's what I've been praying about all this time as a recovering Catholic. I had for years, known that there was some same-sex attraction and had not fully acknowledged it, but was definitely in my interior life praying about that. And that light switch got turned on, and I almost ran upstairs to jubilantly share that news with my parents. I'm somewhat glad that I didn't because it probably would have been a buzzkill in that moment. I decided instead to choose a few of my friends who were already out to share that
Wait, did
information
you did
with.
you think your parents wouldn't accept you in that moment?
I knew that it was going to be complicated. Now,
Okay,
I'm an only child, and so
gotcha.
those of you who are only children, you know that we're in a different situation. And in some respects, you kind of get what you get with us. There's not another pathway for another child. And so I wasn't certain. My parents were definitely not conservative by any means, but weren't liberal in a sense. My father, I'm pretty sure, voted for Ross Perot each time he could. So, like, just in the middle
Gotcha.
there. And so I asked a friend if he'd meet me at a park after school, and he kept putting me off a couple of days. So I was like sitting on this an instant pot getting ready to burst. And finally we got there and I shared the information with him. And he was very excited for me. And then he said, "And now I need a ride home because I've missed my ride home because you needed to share this info with me." So he and I didn't drive. My mother drove him home with me in the car, both of us knowing this information and me about to burst. And so I went home after we dropped my friend off, and I told my mother, and it was it was 1997. It was rocky to a degree. Not that she loved me any less, but at that moment in time, still a lot of fear and a lot of trepidation about what life would be like for anyone openly gay. And then my dad pulled up from work, so there wasn't any hiding it from him almost immediately. It was up and down for a little bit, but I went to school. I signed up to see the gay counselor. We all knew that there was a counselor who was, pretty openly gay, and he was out of town. So I ended up seeing another counselor who also turned out to be the gay counselor. Surprise, surprise. Um, and I asked him just to go home and talk to my parents, and he did without hesitation. And so I went to my grandmother's, he went and talked to my parents, and there were ups and downs over the next several years, but I've had a lot of love and support, and certainly I didn't have my family turn on me, which, so many queer folks have experienced that. Today they couldn't be more loving and supportive, and at everything imaginable that they can be at, they are there.
Or do they live in Kentucky?
Hmm. Yep,
Mm.
they're here in Louisville with me. Louisville, definitely not Appalachia. Appalachia. Uh,
Appalachia. I knew there was another way to say it. I just,
but you pronounce Vico properly, which nobody does.
well,
So
good. I'm
you
glad
get
for that
major
one.
kudos for that.
Um, it's so interesting to me that I remember, when we come out and if we're knock on wood, luckily supported by our parents in any form or fashion, and we can have this like conversation, but it does feel overnight. It feels like immediate for them because it is out of the blue for them, and they have to like play a little catch up to what's happening. It might have been in your brain for a little while and marinating on it. And but I remember that feeling of like when you just need to finally say it. And I love how you were saying it's like you're like about to burst because and it doesn't matter what they say to you that moment. It could just been how was school, and you're like, I'm gay. Like, hey, did you have fun with your friends? By the way, I'm gay.
Okay.
It's like you just have to sort of say it out loud. So what did high school feel like after that for you? And did you find any did you start to build community for yourself basically?
Yeah, without question. And again, my friends were way out there. I mean, I probably wasn't even a blip on most of the kids' radars at school. One of my closest friends, Victor Mays, I'll give him a plug because he just published his first book last year, Lead Like an Editor. And he was incredibly well known already because he had accidentally come out in the Louisville newspaper about a year earlier. He had correctly thought that he would have a better chance of getting on the student roundtable at the paper if he included in his application that he was openly gay. Of course, the fine print was anything you put in your application, we can print in the newspaper. And so we all woke up on a Sunday morning in 1996 to, Victor, openly gay high school junior at St. X High. And it was right at placement testing time. So angry parents calling the school. And I got to admit, the administration at our once again, all boys Catholic high school was incredibly supportive at that point.
Wow.
And we've even heard stories later about some of the folks in administration, including the school's president, who's passed away now, but Brother Kelly, a Zavarian, probably not a Zavarian brother, but a brother, who had given permission to some of the other sort of theater kids to take on anybody that was giving the gay kids any guff. And so, it's not to say that it wasn't without some adversity. Certainly, I heard the F slur a number of times. We were bullied and harassed to a degree, but
Yeah.
by and large, we were in our own bubble. And theater, of course, provided that safe space. We had such a
Yeah.
robust and supported theater
Yeah.
community and
Yeah.
theater program at that school. And so again, I was just like one of the late bloomers in terms of coming out in 97, and we saw a succession of guys come out. Now, I do want to add the caveat, though, that my understanding is that after we were at that school, that things were not as supportive in subsequent years. So there seemed to be
It was a
just
magical little time
moment.
there.
Hmm.
Well, I think I found it interesting when my mom wanted to call you guys. I was like, "What's happening in Kentucky?" And I did a little more. I'm just amazed through social media how much I found that there is a big queer community, a very robust, healthy queer community right now in Louisville. Yeah, it's huge. And I was just really, really shocked by that. And, I think, if people are driving cross country, queers in general, like they're doing a road trip or something, I think, you can stop in Louisville, much like, Lawrence in Kansas. That's another, very gay friendly city in what is a very GOP, sort of red
Hmm.
state. And I think it's really cool what's happening there. So it's like you've spent like these years advocating and, in places where resistance can be strong. So when you look back, what moment most clearly affirmed for you that this work was really worth it?
Oh, phew. There can't be a single moment. But what you're talking to speaks to the experience so wholly. Queer folks live literally everywhere, right? And
Yep.
many people will be surprised at how strong queer community is, even in small spaces. Now, Louisville, not a small town. We're the
Right.
biggest city in Kentucky, massive LGBTQ population. Actually, I don't know if we still hold the distinction, but according to the last census statistics, we were 11th highest LGBTQ per capita
Wow.
in the United States. And the same is true for Lexington, our second largest city, massive LGBTQ population, Northern Kentucky, just across the river from Cincinnati, the Covington area, huge queer population, but everywhere. And that was the goal of passing the fairness ordinances, what we call the local non-discrimination laws that protect LGBTQ folks from discrimination at the local level. We started going community by community, city by city, county by county, to show just that. And that is the moment for me. And really, it can probably be distilled, if I have to choose a moment, in Vico, the tiny Appalachian coal town that you mentioned.
Yep.
And I'm sad to share that Vico's not actually even a city any longer. I think it was administratively dissolved. Such a small town that they didn't even have city commissioners a few years ago. But when we went to Vico in 2013, population 334. All
Wow.
right. A town that literally you blink and you're through it in the heart of Appalachia, the southeastern tip of Perry County, with an openly gay mayor at the
Hmm.
time because everybody knows everybody, right? And Mayor
Yeah.
Cummings, not just the mayor, but the town hairdresser too, right? And this is the story that people
That's
know in small
beautiful. Really
towns.
beautiful.
You grow up with folks, everybody knows everybody, and it's just part of who you are and you're part of the community and embraced. And sure enough, when we passed the fairness ordinance in Vico, we hadn't had a victory in a decade in Kentucky. Some of our big cities, Louisville, Lexington, Covington, had already protected queer folks from discrimination 10 years earlier, but we had a huge dry spell in the interim. And when we went to that tiny coal town, named after an actual coal company, the Virginia Iron, Coal, and Coke Company, that's where you get the
Wow.
VICCO for Vico.
That's interesting.
And it just wasn't a big deal. The mayor, openly gay, did not even have to vote for that fairness ordinance because the mayor only votes to break a tie. And 3 out of 4 of the former coal miners on that city commission said this isn't a big deal at all. And they did it quietly, didn't really expect much to come of it. But what we didn't know, we knew that it was the smallest city in Kentucky that was going to have a fairness ordinance, but they ended up the smallest town in all of America to
Wow.
protect LGBTQ folks from discrimination. And I argue that that shifted the dialogue, not just statewide, but nationally. It went viral. It made national news. The New York Times flew into town. Stephen Colbert sent his camera crew into town back when he had the Colbert Report. And it emphasized for everyone that queer folks can find community in every corner of America and that this isn't a big city issue. This is an every town issue.
Yeah, it is. You sound a little like an up and coming politician. A little. I mean, your knowledge is just so you have a lot of depth there. Is it something that you want to do? Would you want to run for office?
Not particularly.
Okay.
Now, I can't deny
Fair
I
enough.
did.
No, fair enough. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
what you're doing is still, you're still with the people, right? You're
Yeah.
still managing. So tell me a little bit about you being named director. And I mean, that must have just felt so good. And when did you realize that you wanted to sort of work in nonprofit, or did you kind of like fall into it?
Well, the trajectory did come sort of through politics and theater in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I had in my
It all
20s,
goes along, right?
right? I mean, what's the difference? I'd bounce back and forth between theater and politics because, the contracts were about the same length. Go work on a campaign for 6 months, go do Shakespeare for kids for 6 months, which I did for a while, touring the nation, just going to schools and doing Shakespeare for kids. So I would
Right.
bounce back and forth. I was a paid political canvasser for several candidates. Um, I did those tours, and then during the 2004 presidential election, I went to Philadelphia to help run a grassroots fundraising operation for the Democratic National Committee. And I just always had a strong sense of we've got to be doing all that we can to help everyone that we can. And for me, that was accomplished both through art and through politics. And so I ultimately went and got a master's in drama, and then had just called an old buddy of mine, an old theater buddy of mine, and I got his voicemail, and it said, "Hi, you've reached the congressman's press secretary." And I thought, what a great job that. Wow, so cool. And so I connected with him, and turns out the congressman here in Louisville, Congressman John Yarmouth, was looking for a campaign press secretary for his reelection bid, and it was the right fit. And I came home and I did that for 6 months. And then right after that, I was back unemployed because campaigns only last so long. And I was applying for a lot of theater jobs, a lot of theater administrative jobs, and I really thought that was probably going to be my path.
Mm-hmm.
But three different people in my life that weren't connected at all had come up to me and said, "Did you know the Fairness Campaign is hiring a director?" And I said, "What is the Fairness Campaign?"
Yeah.
I didn't even know, even
Yeah.
though the Fairness Campaign had a long history in Louisville going back to 1991. And I went on the website, and the first image on the website, I mean, it was an awful website. It's a WordPress
It's a
website.
great website now.
Well, thanks. Still needs some work, but this, really rudimentary. But there was this image, and I call it the wheel of oppression, and it showed the implicit connections between racism, sexism,
Mm.
transphobia, homophobia, anti-immigrant sentiment. That all of these oppressions are going to continue to exist if any one of them persist. You can't
Mm.
dismantle any one oppression without addressing all of them. And that just struck me, and I thought, okay, this place is legit. I applied for the job. It was like a Senate confirmation hearing. I
Wow.
had one interview with like 10 board members. My second interview was for like 10 more board members. And then my third interview, they invited any community partner that had ever worked with fairness to come and grill me. It was about 30 folks. I had no idea
Wow.
what I was doing.
You were
Um,
holding a town hall.
it was wild. I immediately left that interview and I got in my car and I drove to DC to go to President Obama's inauguration, where
Amazing.
there
Oh,
were
I
like
just got the chills. I love
well,
that.
and there were like seven of us crammed in one hotel room together, all sleeping on the floor. And
I
honestly,
love
when I
it.
pulled up there, I didn't realize how much the parking was going to be at the hotel. And I thought, I can't afford to pay $50 to park at the hotel. And I literally at that moment got the call um, offering me the job at Fairness. And so it was just this phenomenal confluence of events,
Synergy, divine intervention, divine
right?
timing.
And
It
the
was meant to
day that
be.
I started at Fairness was 10 years to the day that they had passed that historic first fairness ordinance in the city of Louisville. And so I'm
Wow.
actually just coming up on my 17th anniversary on January 26th, which is
Amazing.
that important anniversary.
God, so just such a beautiful, beautiful story. I love that. So, often these like conversations around the LGBTQ protections become abstracted or politicized, right? How do you help people reconnect to the human stories around it, and within the center of these issues? How do you guys sort of, formulate that and push it forward for your community?
Yeah, you've got to uplift folks who are directly impacted.
Yeah.
When I go to Frank, I mean, sure, I'm openly gay, but have so many compounding privileges. Clearly, I'm not the target of the ICE raids that are going on right now.
Right.
Clearly, I'm not the target of the anti-trans attacks that are going on right now. My job is to exercise whatever privilege I have to be able to clear a pathway so that we can hear better the stories of individuals who are directly impacted. And so when we are in the state capital, Frankfurt, here in Kentucky, fighting anti-trans legislation, it's got to be trans folks who are sharing their stories, who are leading that charge and helping lead that strategy. And that's what we've done every step along the way, when these anti-trans attacks really began. And as a reminder to everyone, 5 years ago, there weren't any of these anti-trans laws in
Yeah.
any of our states across the nation. This has just been an incredibly recent
Mm.
phenomenon, right? Just in the past 5 to 7 years. But when they started proposing these bills, the first one in Kentucky that passed the finish line, sort of unsurprisingly, was one of these ones attacking trans kids playing sports.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's difficult to find folks who are willing to speak up, and they become they're put directly in the crosshairs of the opposition. And it's not a place you want anybody to be. And this is where the bravery we see on exhibit all the time. We had one 12-year-old girl who was playing sports in Kentucky. That was the only trans kid we knew of. She was on her school's field hockey team that she actually started because there weren't enough kids to be on a field hockey team. She gathered up all of her friends. They started this field hockey team. She's the only trans girl playing sports in our state, and the state legislature banned her and essentially her alone from playing her eighth grade year with her friends on the team that she started. And regardless of the fact that that bill became law, the fact that she became so well known and her story was so uplifted, I mean, she became an icon within our community.
Yeah.
And, it's always my hope that those folks can look back on this time in their lives when they became what I call accidental activists and can look on it fondly. But I know that it's got to have a lot of trauma connected with it as well.
Well, of course. I mean, as a female athlete, but I'm a cis female, right? But still, as a lifelong athlete and a mom of an eighth grader, which is the same, right now, it's like
That age.
you just want them all to have these opportunities as a parent, even just speaking, forget that I'm even, that I'm a lesbian, but I'm a Jewish mom,
Mm.
and it's like you want for your children to experience what you maybe didn't, or exactly what you did. You want them to have this freedom of pursuing the things that they love, whether it's choir or band or running track or, field hockey, like whatever it is, it's criminal to me in the sense of politicians trying to make these decisions. Like, remember when you were a kid, dude? Like, why do you want to just push down these little sweet kids who are just trying to be their whole self? Like, it's hard enough.
And it's just about belonging and participating.
That's it.
You know, I did an interview a couple of days ago because, of course, sports issue is before the Supreme Court right now. We're not talking about professional athletes. We are talking about middle schoolers who literally just want to play.
Yeah.
That's literally all that we are talking about.
So
And
ridiculous.
to deny folks that ability to participate and to belong completely ostracizes them and tells them that they are so different that there's no way to accommodate them. And that is 110% the wrong message you can send to any kid, any kid.
So tell me what you're excited about with fairness right now. And in thinking along the lines of if someone were to go after, they listen to this episode and they're like, I want to donate, I want to help, I want to participate, whatever I can do, because they really resonate with you and obviously what you guys are doing. What can't you see on the website that you want people to know?
Well, you can't
I pulled back
see,
the website thing,
no,
I just,
no. You can't see how big the movement really is now
oh,
and how many sort of tendrils are out there
mm,
curling around communities quietly in Kentucky and every other place in the nation. I say that we're experiencing a lot of backlash right now, but it's only because of the progress that we have made and the progress we are about to make.
love it.
This is the rubber band and the slingshot getting pulled all the way back, and that
Hmm.
there's a lot of tension there, a whole lot of tension that builds up. But but when it gets released, the forward momentum that we are going to have, we're gonna see rights and accomplishments that we could have never dreamed of. We're going to get there. This is the death rattle of the opposition, and it
Yep.
will be fierce and awful and painful. And it is going to take years to unravel the damage that they have done.
Yes.
But hearts and minds are changing in unbelievable ways. And just something that very few folks would know unless they talk to us. I mean, I think a lot of other groups are having this experience. I'm a lobbyist in our capital. We tried for years to hire other professional lobbyists
Mm,
who, take on, their client lists are dozens and dozens of corporations and public interest, and they would always shy away from, if not downright run away from, social issues and particularly LGBTQ issues. This year, for the first time ever, we have more fish jumping in the boat than I can hire in
I love
terms of conservative. These are conservative. These are
that.
Republican lobbyists. We've got the former Republican Secretary of State in Kentucky lobbying for fairness issues
God, I
this
love
year
that.
in the legislature. And so that's the type of progress that folks don't see, but it is happening.
I love that. I love that. It's interesting because with what's happening, politics, it's almost as if I remember when I was playing college tennis and I would play doubles. I like singles, but I was a doubles player. And doubles, it's a little bit of strategy and things like that. But I used to sit there and just think, all right, if I just am like a brick wall and every time they hit it to me, I'm just going to hit it back. They're going to make a mistake on their own. If I just stay steady and consistent, and it kind of feels like that's what's happening. There's evidently, there's a lot of the magic going on, like, hey, look over here in this right hand, and then all this like chatter is going on. But I think within the community, I agree with you from who I talk to and reading and staying really more current in gay news than I've ever stayed. And I think it's really important for people to not get lost in the MSNBCs of the world. And if you're queer and worried, start following all of these wonderful organizations. And the minute you start following on Instagram, it drops down and shows you all these other great organizations. But you start to feel and see the ripple effect of what's happening out there. And that's honestly part of the reason why I pivoted the podcast to start amplifying these queer voices. So when something negative is happening, Chris, I now know there's a Chris out there who's counteracting that. And if and maybe this one episode will counteract that as well by changing hearts and minds. But it's really it is a fascinating time. I know a lot of people are scared, but I don't feel scared in the same sense anymore. I think the more that I talk to organizations, actually, I start to feel better.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Let's look at the proliferation of pride festivals.
Yes.
You can't throw a stone without hitting a pride festival. And not just in June. Here in Kentucky, they start in April and they go through the bitter end of October. Pride season does not end.
I
I mean,
love
there are
that.
30 plus pride festivals in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. There were two when I started 17 years
Whoa, 17 years ago. Wow.
ago.
I
Wow.
mean, that says a lot, right? So, leadership and advocacy can be deeply personal, right? What parts of yourself have had to grow or soften in order to do this work sustainable? I mean, for 17 years, it's a pretty long relationship right there.
Things that have really had to soften for me were my willingness to work with folks that I didn't agree with,
Oh, yes.
and the understanding that we don't have to agree on everything, and that just because they're not there today doesn't mean that I won't need them tomorrow, and they may be there. And
Mm,
sure enough, I've seen that happen. Again, now that I've been here long enough, I've watched the evolution of many folks that we've come to rely on that I would never have given the time of day to when I started this work. Um, you know, Parts of myself that I've had to stretch, my thumbs as I play more Fortnite to disconnect from
important.
from the tough
Keep your
stuff.
blind. Yeah, definitely.
That's the thing. Folks are always asking is like how we stay in this work. You got to have a good circle of friends and you got to have some hobbies, right?
Yeah,
That get you out
work-life
of the
balance.
day to day.
Well, what do you do for fun? What else do you
I
do
mean,
other
I'm not lying. I play a lot of Fortnite.
You get out into nature. I know Kentucky has some beautiful
Yeah.
parks and beautiful spaces of, national parks and
Mhm.
state parks.
In summers where I'm really doing well and taking great care of myself, I'll go out and play disc golf and just
Oh,
love, love,
that that's
love it.
that's popular here in Phoenix and
Yeah.
Arizona rather, because just the weather lends itself to
Yeah, of course. And
unless it's 120.
and I was going to say, you all don't have what's the wind situation there like? Can you get a really good, like,
Slip.
calm? Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, but we still get a lot of wind. We've had some
Mm.
interesting weather patterns lately. It's actually gotten really cold here, and today was at my cheeks are red because I actually got quite a bit of sun today, which was nice.
Ooh.
It was because it was a little warmer day, but
Well, here we're getting flurries, but Kentucky weather is unpredictable at nothing else. If you don't like it, just give it 5 or 10 minutes, they say. But I love going sledding too when we get a nice big snow around here.
hmm
Yeah, we definitely have some really beautiful landscape here, and honestly, it's part of the job that I really like is getting to travel across the Commonwealth frequently because there's no lie, the rolling hills and mountains of Appalachia are stunning.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't even imagine.
oof,
I know.
it's just beautiful.
Yeah. What's your North Star right now? What's a big focus for you guys in 2026? And in the same vein, what can people do to help you guys out? If there's something that, hey, this is something we always need, and other than, money, of course, but in just any fashion or, whatever you think would be worth sharing.
I mean, the North Star in these days has to be trans rights, and it has
Yes.
to be everybody using, again, whatever privilege they've got to uplift, embrace, support the trans community, to listen to the trans community about what they need specifically,
Yeah.
and certainly never going in acting as if we know what is best for the community. And that is, of course, true for our immigrant community right now, too. The overlap between the queer community and the immigrant community is massive, and
Yeah.
I'd say no one besides our trans kids and our immigrant siblings are more at risk right now and need the most support.
Yeah, that veil is very thin. I don't think
Mm.
people realize how thin that is. There's a lot of crossover there, and the support is absolutely needed. I love that. Um, what else would you like to share? Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to talk about, or you know, yeah.
I tell you what, things that folks don't know about Kentucky, we got some of the best drag in the nation. If you love
I'm
drag,
telling you, you're making me actually want to come there. I mean,
oh
I've been
no,
to
you've
Louisville.
got
Like
to.
I've done the Slugger Museum and I was there for a
Oh
trade
yeah,
show. And,
okay.
Six Flags is there and I don't
Hmm.
think Six Flags is there anymore though, is it?
It's
It was
not called Six Flags now. It's back to Kentucky Kingdom, which it was before it was Six Flags.
Ooh,
Well, it
okay.
actually was Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom for a while, but I remember when it was just really a log flume and nothing else at Kentucky Kingdom.
I mean, Louisville's just an interesting, the way everything is, like the airport's everything's kind of close by. And
Hmm.
then, like you said, like you were talking about Ohio, like
Yeah,
everything, you can literally, my friends from Ohio can just go
yeah.
down there. It's like a
Hop
couple
right
hour
over there.
drive. It's this little bridge, to all these
And if
different
you're a bourbon
states.
lover, the bourbon industry is
Yeah.
getting queerer and queerer. A great organization called Queer Kentucky has a queer bourbon week
Yep.
now in October every year, and so come get your bourbon on and your LGBTQ
I'm going to talk
bourbon.
to them actually. They're on the books, so I'm really excited and to hear all the events and things that they're
Yeah,
putting on. All right, so another fun thing that we like to do at the end is a little rapid fire. Are you
I love it.
ready? Okay,
Yes,
I've enjoyed you. You're
thank you.
hilarious. I didn't know what to expect, but you're very funny. Um, so just answer the first thing that comes to mind. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
How do you take it?
Oh, so my husband became a coffee snob after managing a Starbucks for a brief time, and he
Yeah.
French presses
Oh,
a
he's a
pot
coffee
every morning.
connoisseur.
He'll hand grind it and he'll French press it, and it's enough for one giant mug for me and one for him. And I and black as night. I don't want a thing in it.
I love it. I think when you roast it fresh like that and then let it steep and bloom, the bloom happens. I love coffee, so I get that. Are you a morning bird or a night owl?
Oh, night owl, hoot hoot hoot. There's no way in the world.
Well,
The
what time do you
legislature
be at work?
well, the legislature destroys me because I do have to get up early for the first quarter of the year. But the rest of the year, if I can avoid meetings before noon, I will.
Wow. Okay. I like that. Hey, good deal.
Yeah.
Policy wins or personal conversations?
Ooh, policy wins, I still want.
Yeah. It's helps the movement, right?
Mhm.
One word that best describes fairness to you.
I mean, fair.
I know. I know.
I
I,
don't know. Yeah. Intersectional.
oh, I
You know,
like
we've
that.
always done our work from an anti-racist lens, and that was not commonplace in the 90s in the queer rights movement. Of course, at that point, it would have been called the gay rights movement, right? Just see
Yes,
how our language has evolved to be more inclusive too.
I agree. I have had to teach my boomer mother that saying the word queer is actually okay now. She can
Okay,
say it as an umbrella,
right.
to the whole alphabet,
Yeah.
it's important. How about a book that's influenced you?
Ooh. Huh. Um,
I don't like to put pressure on people and say, what are you reading now? Because
yeah,
if like for you, obviously this first part of the year is really about digging
yeah,
back in and
sure.
you might not have time to pleasure read or to, but just something, but I always like
Well,
sharing.
I tell you, I this is my theater hat coming back on.
Yeah.
But oh, and the name of the book is escaping me for a moment. But it's I can't believe it. It's the most famous improv book that is out there. I'm going to look it up and figure it out before we're done here. But it's basically a handbook, not just for improv, but for life, and about how we it's something about truth in comedy. Truth in comedy, hands down. You'll learn more about life than you will about improv and comedy.
Love that. Youth in comedy. I like that. A place in Kentucky that holds special meaning for you.
Bowling Green,
Oh,
which
so pretty.
we have. I just feel like so much of my blood, sweat, and tears is on the ground in Bowling Green, where we have been trying so hard to pass one of those fairness ordinances for almost my entire tenure at Fairness. And we're
Mm,
not there yet. We went from 0 votes on the city commission to 1 vote and then 2 votes. We only need three, and we just haven't been able to get that third. But a major shout out to professor at Western Kentucky University, Patty Minter, who is a former state representative. She just ran for mayor last year.
love that.
She is, she's like the den mother for every queer kid that comes through WKU,
I
and
love
huge place in my heart, Bowling
that's amazing. Music you turn to when you need to be like grounding.
Oh, my husband would just be riding me ruthlessly right now. I listen to movie soundtracks and like not good ones. Um, he got me the War Games soundtrack,
War games. That's classic. Oh,
and I mean I couldn't. I was
wait,
already
I'm
listening
trying
to
to
the
think of
record.
what even sound. It was just a lot of classical music, I think. Was there
I I
actual?
mean it's weird. It's weird, but I'm a
Matthew
visual.
Broderick would be very happy to hear
I hope
this.
I hope he is. I hope he got a royalty for the CD set that
War
John just bought
games.
me.
I mean, I thought you would maybe say Greatest Showman, or like, there's so
Oh,
many.
terrible. It's
Okay, I
terrible.
love it. I mean, I'm a yacht rock lover. I get ribbed every day for that. So, um, What does living out loud mean to you, Chris?
Authentic
Mm,
living. Um, I am reminded constantly that not everybody is sort of out
mhm.
loud. Um, we're very visible, we're very out and queer and here, but the biggest message is that you've got to be true to you and live
Mhm.
your authentic life to achieve what I imagine is fulfillment.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, I really appreciate everything you guys are doing at Fairness, and I appreciate you taking time out today to talk to me and, of course, the listeners that are creating and helping and there are little pebbles right now for me at least. They're the ripple effect of having people hear and listen and message and say that, hey, that episode really spoke to me. So I really appreciate you being part of my movement as well as the queer movement. And yeah, you're just a treasure. So I really appreciate it. And I if when I come to Kentucky, you're my phone call to tell you when I'm coming into town so we can go and have a little fun. And of course I need some barbecue.
Okay, we'll take care of you, Michelle.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you so much for having me.
thank you so much.
If you liked this episode, please hit the follow button and remember, sharing is caring. Until next week, stay proud, stay loud.